Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself. I'm so excited to share with you something very important this day. Have you ever wondered that very little conflicts can end up becoming so big that can even lead to sometimes death, especially among the parties who have contention? In this edition, I'm going to be talking straight to us about conflict resolution. My name is Kencho Desmond. I'm a leadership and business development coach. I'm also a public speaker. I'm glad to be on this particular cohort, which we are going to be looking at what is conflict resolution and what are the skills required to be effective at the level of conflict resolutions. A couple of years ago, a very good friend of mine who was planning his wedding had a difficult time agreeing with his would-be wife on a simple topic: joint accounts or individual accounts. Just like you heard, as simple as you've heard, but it was a major issue. Now, two perspectives, two backgrounds, two world views were to come together, but they couldn't agree on this simple point. Now, each party was fed up, and it was like something that could lead to shutting down this relationship and not advancing with it. I want to talk to you about conflict resolution skills. Sometimes the problems we end up having with people, among ourselves, among groups of persons, groups of individuals and companies and so on and so forth, is simply because of the inability to effectively manage them. Now, I had to program a session with a friend and we discussed over it at length. I asked basic questions. What is your own stand? What's her stand? What are the reasons you can advance for taking that stand? He shared them with me and they were awesome. I also asked, what are her own reasons for choosing this other side? He shared the reasons she also advanced. I said, okay, now can we put both on the table and look at it? We tried to do that and do that and do that. And I won't tell you everything, but the beautiful news is, before they were to continue with the relationship, even though they are now married and happily married, they had to come to a compromise. In one way or the other, everyone conceded some things, made some concessions, and at the end of the day, they were able to continue with the process. I want to talk to you about conflict resolution skills. This is something many of us have or experience conflicts on a daily basis. That could be from our workplaces, that could be with our colleagues, that could be with our staffs, that could be with our congregation if we are servants of God, that could be even with our own spouses if we are married, that could be with our children, that could be with our neighbors, that could be with our relatives. We often have problems, and each time these problems come, the only way to survive is only if we have mastered some skills that can enable us solve these problems without necessarily amplifying them. Now, this is also a skill. It is not just an ability which we are simply born with, but it is a skill. And that's why today we're going to be looking at a few things. Number one, we're going to be looking at what are some of the different conflicts that we can have, and what are some of the strategies we can also apply in order to resolve the conflicts we find ourselves in. And finally, I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips which are very important, which we all can apply in order to make progress in everything we're doing. Now, let's get this straight. Conflict resolution is the process of finding a peaceful solution to a disagreement or a conflict between two parties, two or more parties. It could still be more than two persons. Conflict resolution strategies can also include negotiations, mediation, compromise, collaboration, amongst others. Addressing them constructively can lead to a better understanding, stronger relationship, and of course, an increased productivity among involved parties. So, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to focus on just three. Though we have more, we can look at interpersonal conflicts, intrapersonal conflicts, and of course, group conflicts. So under interpersonal skills or conflicts, we're talking about it involving two or more individuals. It can arise due to misunderstandings, due to differences, and of course, in opinions and in beliefs. It can occur through divergent values and attitudes. It can also occur through competitions and resources. Interpersonal conflicts can also manifest in rivalry, in envy, in jealousy, and of course, in personal dislikes. Now, what do we mean when we talk about intrapersonal conflicts? We are talking about conflicts that take place within the individual's mind. You're having unsettled issues within your mind. You're having unsettled issues concerning decisions you're about to take, decisions you've taken, decisions you will take. You're having unsettled decisions. You're unsettled confirmations, unsettled agreement, unsettled accord between the actions you're about to take, the thoughts you're incubating, and the actual inner person. We can also talk about group conflicts, which has to do with a group of persons. 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, and so on and so forth. Nations also find themselves under these, where different nations are fighting among each other. So each type of conflict presents unique challenges for the individual or the group of persons involved, forcing them to adapt or to find compromises or to overcome the obstacles. Understanding the various types of conflicts can provide insight into human behavior, societal issues, and of course the narrative development. There are a number of benefits, but before I want to share with us the benefits, I want us to take a look at some of the things that can be like tips in helping us developing skills as far as conflict resolution is concerned. Now hear this. As we keep advancing, you'll realize some instances you've had conflicts with persons, with groups of persons. One of the things we would always love to apply during moments of conflict, disagreements, is to just stay calm. Just take a deep breath. One of the things my wife taught me during our courtship, sometimes there are difficult moments, we need to agree on something and it's getting tough and I'm getting kind of angry about it. All of a sudden she'll say, babe, take a deep breath. Please just take a deep breath. And I'll be like, no, I don't want to take the deep breath. Then all of a sudden I agree to take the deep breath and I find some calmness within me. So this is a very powerful tool. Now, since it was working for me, a time came, she was also more agitated than I was. And I used the same strategy. I said, babes, take a deep breath. And she started smiling. Because sometimes when 2 parties who are under a very heavy contention are all at a very high level of with the adrenaline's very high, they tend not to listen to each other, and everyone wants to pass across their points. Sometimes I am not passing across my points because I have understood you from the angle from which you're talking, but simply because I also want to be heard. So being calm sometimes during difficult moments or during contentions or during conflicts can create an enabling environment for both parties to come to the table, either for negotiation and so on and so forth. And sometimes you could just want to actively listen. Sometimes in the course of our talking, we get into conflicts. You can find that among peers so much. Oh, I have this idea. Especially those who watch football. Everyone has an idea. They want to pass across something. How Manchester United did this, how Manchester City did this, how this and that, how Real Madrid did this. And sometimes, actively listen, arguments will be reduced. Conflicts will be reduced. I can still say this because when I was still in the secondary school, I can remember sometimes we will argue until end up with headaches. And another skill which I've also learned, or another tip which I would also want to advance here, is just being empathetic. Sometimes someone has misunderstood you. Sometimes someone has received an information about you. Sometimes someone has just walked up into the office and the mood from home wasn't a good one. And once they get in, empathy could just do the job, creating an atmosphere where you empathize with the person. Yeah, I understand how you feel. I understand it's a hard one. I know listening or hearing this cannot make you happy, but I believe that there is a way we can find a solution to this. I understand with you, it's painful, it's difficult for you to take this. I understand that the way the information was brought to you, you couldn't help than acting like this. Hello, have you ever spoken to someone like this who was furious and about to cause chaos? Let me tell you, the first thing they will do is they will calm down. They will find a place to reason with you because you've approached them from a position of empathy. You've empathized with them. You've connected. You've related with them. You've related with their pain, with their challenge. And so they are more disposed to listen and even to make concessions. Sometimes it's just about identifying the issue. Have you found people? Have you found groups of persons? Have you found colleagues who are in sharp disagreements, in terrible conflicts, simply because nobody has taken out time to decipher the root cause of what is bringing out the contention. Aspects I want to share with us today is about finding common grounds. Sometimes we are pulling the blankets to our own direction, on our own sides, while the other person is doing same. As long as nobody will make any concession, nobody will compromise on an aspect, we will remain at that distance. So in conflict resolution, sometimes it's just about finding a common ground. Listen to this. Identify shared interests and goals that can help form a basis of agreement. Yes, we are disagreeing about this. We are disagreeing about the bank account, whether it should be joint or it should be separate. Now, apart from this, do we have common grounds that are stronger, that are bigger, that are more valuable than that? Oh, I don't love to sleep with lights on. I'm talking to couples. No, I love to sleep with music. Oh, I don't love to hear sound when I'm sleeping. Can we find common grounds on that? No, I don't love when they talk to me at work like this. I hate when they shout at me. Can we find common grounds? Oh, I this and I that. Are there possibilities of finding common grounds? Another element I want us to look about is about compromise. Sometimes I will need to give up something in order to foster the relationship, in order to foster productivity at the workplace, in order to foster growth in my community, in order to foster growth within that congregation. These are some tips that we can always take advantage of. Oftentimes, conflicts always escalate because two parties, or the parties involved, or the individual and his inner self can't find a common ground. As long as we can find a common ground, we can be able to make progress. Before I get to take us through a few things as we wrap up this special session, please permit me read this out to you, and I want you to listen to it attentively. Remember, resolving conflict takes practice and patience, but cultivating these skills leads to more effective communication and fosters healthier relationships. The reason we want to acquire the skills, the reason we want to seek for these skills, the reason we want to grow in resolving conflicts is because we want to foster healthier relationships. We want to foster productivity at workplaces. We want to foster community development where contentions are reduced. Though it may be difficult to eradicate entirely because worldviews are different, because perspectives are different, because situations, circumstances are all different. But we can make advances, we can make advancements, we can make progress by the skills we acquire in resolving these conflicts. And finally, if you haven't taken down anything, these are a few points I want you to take as far as the benefits of conflict resolution is concerned. In any environment, corporate bodies, congregations, families, and so on and so forth, one of the benefits that effective and skillful conflict resolutions can do to our relationships is that it will improve on communication. We will better communicate among ourselves as couples. We will better communicate among ourselves as relatives, as business partners, as colleagues. We will better communicate as people of the same community. The second thing I want you to note is that it will foster stronger relationships. The bond becomes stronger at the workplace. The bond becomes stronger in the family. The bond becomes stronger even within a larger community. Now, if there is increased skill development in conflict resolution, I can guarantee you there will be increased productivity. This is now for the corporate bodies, for the corporate world, for the business environment. Whenever there is a cohesion existing within a team, productivity increases, because nobody is looking for a way to downgrade the other, to cause chaos within the team. Everyone is collaboratively working towards arriving at a certain goal. You know, it's also often said that teamwork makes the dream work. One of the benefits of developing conflict resolution skills is going to help the team increase their collaboration. The next thing I want us to look at is the fact that it's going to increase or enhance problem-solving skills. Sometimes, just being able to develop these skills, you become a better person, You can have access to professional open doors where you can help other organizations, help other bodies, help other groups, help even individuals deal with problems either intrapersonally or interpersonally, because you master the skills and it becomes a soft skill that not only will it be beneficial to create an environment, an enabling environment for growth, but it can also become a very powerful sought after skill. Positive environment or positive work environment is also the result of excellent conflict resolution skills. And finally, before I drop the microphone, I want to talk about conflict prevention. Just the fact that you're growing in these skills, just the fact that you're becoming a better person at resolving conflicts, many environments, many communities, many companies, many groups, many relationships will be able to abstain, will be able to excel in whatever they're doing as groups of persons, as groups of companies, simply because these skills are being put into use. You will find out that the environments, the communities will have little things to deal with when it comes to conflict. Because in matters where they have divergent views, they understand that it is normal for us to have divergent views. But what we can look for is a common ground so we can advance. In this way, disagreements become an added advantage and not a breeding ground for disunity, a breeding ground for division, a breeding ground for destruction. If you've known me for a while now, there is a quote that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And this quote is by Dr. Miles Monroe. And this is what he says: "Wisdom will save you from the dangers of knowledge." We're in a dispensation where everyone knows a lot. Anything we want, we can just go online and we can find. But the difference with what we know is that very few apply what they learn. And so it's possible to acquire a lot of knowledge and still be enslaved. Because in this dispensation, knowledge alone is not power. It's simply potential power. It becomes power when acted upon. So wisdom will save you from the dangers of knowledge. Knowing all about conflict resolution, knowing about a few tips and skills that you may want to develop in order to approach different contentions, different disagreements, different problems, different conflicts is one thing. But it's another to apply them with little problems that may arise in your family, that may arise in your organization, that may arise in your community, that may arise wherever you find yourself, that may arise among other people that you know. And how can you be of help to them? This is where the reality of what you just learned becomes very valid. So I want to encourage, I want to implore, and I want to inspire each one of us on this, to know that it is one thing to learn and it's another thing to apply. So go out there, apply it, and let your light begin to radiate into others as you put to work, as you put to practice what you've learned this afternoon, this morning, this evening. May God bless you, and see you some other time.